Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hobbits and Nephilim. I always start with that. And if there's any shapeshifters in the room, please see me during the break. I want to have a really good discussion with one of those. Hands up who went to the last AV that we had. Okay, there's a few. And I noticed that quite a few people saw me on Richard Vobes. Okay, so we're going to visit a few bits at first to get you all up to speed. I don't know whether to sit or... I'm used to using... Yeah. It's only personal. Okay, so we're in pretty dark times, and I try to be quite positive. Now, when this whole COVID rubbish kicked off, I saw exactly what they were up to. Some of you I've had chats with woke up quite young. I woke up 2001, thought I was going mad for a long period of time, but now I'm with people that are like me, and I'm no longer the corporate monster I was becoming. So I've kind of moved on. The friends I've got now are a very different group of people than I had about 8 years ago. All my old friends, as it were, I've moved away from them, don't contact them anymore, they don't contact me. There's been a divergence in energy with people. And I'm going to try to explain what I think is going on and who they are. Because that's the question we all keep. Why are they doing this? Why is this happening? So we're going to kind of visit some very dark stuff, but I'm only doing it so that we can kind of figure out their next phase of attack. And it's all to do with our DNA. So we're going to be exploring that one. So let me just do a quick spin through of some of the stuff that was in the last AV that I kind of stopped doing during my talk, because it was the end of the day, people getting very tired, and where I was taking it would have been extremely dark. So I didn't want to leave the day with people feeling very deflated and because that's what I don't try to do. I expose what I see, but try to finish on a positive note. So unfortunately, you're now going to do a deep dive into where I was going to take it. And we'll see your reactions, and we'll try and do a quick Q&A. John, when we've done an hour, can you give me a shout? Good man. So let's just get into this thing now. So let's have a quick spin through. Fingerprints are in the universe. Numbers are the backdrop to everything in our existence. Numbers are extremely important. And we often say, we're ashamed to say we can't read, but then we boast, I haven't got a head for numbers. Well, that's half our communication. So unless you know your numbers and recognise, because these secret societies and all the others, they use these as energy numbers, and there's energy within numbers. But we can get there if you want some questions later. So, just to recap, the fifth element of ancient cultures. Now, we had air, fire, water, and earth. But in Latin, quinto means the fifth element, which is ether, which is to do with energy. So, that there is the symbol for ether. Okay, and that's quite important, because we're going to, halfway through this, you'll see why and where I'm going with this stuff. So I played this one in the last AV.
Worst break I ever had. They all owed me money.
Quiet, porcupine. And speaking of money, how about the $20 you owe me?
Oh, yeah? Well, I only got 10, so here's 10 and I owe you 10.
Thanks.
Hey, Mo, you owe me 20.
Well, here's 10 and I'll owe you 10.
You owe me 20.
Here's 10, I owe you 10.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you. Good, now we're all even.
Did everybody see what was actually happening there? I know some of you have seen this before, but does anyone understand actually what is happening there? The guy in the middle is the banker. The guy on the left is paying off his debt. And the guy on the right, he's taken out a staged loan from the bank. So I'll try and play it again, which obviously...
Break. Worst break I ever had. They all owed me money.
He's the banker.
Quiet, porcupine. And speaking of money, how about the 20 bucks you owe me?
Oh, yeah? Well, I only got 10, so here's 10, I owe you 10.
Thanks.
Hey, Mo, you owe me 20.
Well, here's 10, and I'll owe you 10.
You owe me 20.
Here's 10, I owe you 10.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you.
Here's the 10 I owe you. Good, now we're all even.
Now you're looking at it a very different way, aren't you? It's not funny anymore. I'm going to spin through these quite quickly because we're really up against time with all the stuff I've got to cover. So I think on Vobes and in the last presentation, those of you that haven't seen any of this stuff before, we'll try and do something in the presentations when they come out later. Now, if you take the £5 note, that's the first statement that's on it, which is the back of the note. I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat. £10 note, I declare that after all there's no such enjoyment like reading. £10 note, light is therefore colour. The original £50 note was, I sell here, sir, what the world desires, which is to have power. And the latest £50 note, it says, this is only a foretaste of what is to come and only a shadow of what is going to be. Now, that's a warning. And we've been using this stuff and exchanging this stuff among ourselves. But we've kind of woken up now, haven't we, to a lot of this stuff. But we've been using this energy exchange, which is sweat equity, in the corporation and the corporate world for our existence. Now, the grid, direct current is 1 mile distribution and alternating current is 100 miles. Now, this was Tesla and Edison. Edison wanted alternating current and Tesla wanted direct current. We need to get back to direct current. Alternating current, they say it's safety because if you touch something electrical, it throws you off, whereas direct current, you touch and you become attached. And that flows through you and can kill you. But there's something else also going on in regard to ether, and we'll get there now. Right, potential grounding. We're going to spin through this. If you're wearing shoes with any soil, basically, you're not going to get the energy that's in the ether. Take off your shoes, you're going to get it. Higher up you are, the more you're going to get. I won't play that. I then went on to circuit boards, which is fantastic, like most circuit boards, but that's not a circuit board, that's the Forbidden City in China. Again, you've got the Hadron Collider, but problem is the one on the left is Cantiana City in Sicily. And then we've got, obviously, Mecca, but the one on the right is a magnet with metal filings. So everything, in my opinion, is about energy. And are we electrical beings? I would say we are. We're running round, aren't we, as if we were pulses on a circuit board. So the energy that we create, which I'm going to get to, which is going to be the scary bit of this one, there's something else going on. So, again, circuit boards that do processing are quite interesting, but the problem is the one on the left is Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Coolant fans, stadiums on the right, and again, circuit boards. The one on the left is Persepolis in Iran. Memory serves me right. And then you've got Central Park, which is on the right-hand side. That looks like a circuit board. And we'll keep going. So you have stacked circuit boards, and but the one on the left is actually Mexico City. Again, Edfu Temple is on the left. And again, you've got New York City. Problem is, the one on the left is actually a super processor. And then you look at the Mayan Pyramids complex, and the computer motherboard of the one at the top is basically the layout for printers. They're identical. Then we'll go back to New York City, but the one on the right is actually, again, a super processor, and what looks like water with a boat in it is actually just an isolator on the circuit board. Hadron Collider, again, that's the Arch of Triomphe on the left. Now, I'll skim through that one, actually. Then we came to the circuit boards in the last talk I gave. I was an ecclesiastical surveyor as well as a chartered surveyor for a very long time. And I started going around all these cathedrals and churches and started looking at strange things that I was seeing within the decorations within these energy buildings. Churches are energy buildings. I'm convinced of it. Why? Well, wonderful patterns, but then from the labyrinth, from the Greek methodology, place of a double-edged axe, the thing on the right there is called a Schumann resonator. And basically, when you've got your mobile phones now, you can just put them onto a base charger. You don't have to connect them up. The Schumann resonator charges the phone up. It charges the phone up in about an hour and a half. But with the Schumann resonator, you can discharge your phone in about 4 minutes. So looking at that pattern, bearing in mind, if you look at it, it's kind of interesting. That's Chartres Cathedral in Exeter. Is the pattern strange? Let's put them side by side. They're identical. Now, usually those patterns are covered always in chairs in churches. You never actually see them. Only occasionally do they take the chairs away so that you can see them. I mean, that's like, oh, look, someone's done one in a cathedral. Then if you look at the symbolic forget-me-not, Freemasons, it's a secret sign that a Freemason will wear when they're in public. And if you look at the pattern, remember the pattern for ether? With the circles and the centre circle? All that does is it's just repeated itself. It's doubled itself up. And that's a Freemason symbol. The story goes that the French Freemasons in the Second World War used this as a sign to each other to say they were part of the resistance. This pattern goes back a lot further. Now that you can see the sign for ether, and if you spin that on itself and then add the circles, now things are starting to look very, very strange. Now the cathedral, actually, that's Chartres in France. It's another one. St. Peter Paul Jesuit Church in Detroit in the USA. There's another one. That's in Cologne Cathedral in Germany, and it's a room where an individual stands, and I think these used to be resonating healing centres. The patterns go on. San Vitale, Ravenna, Italy, I seem to remember. And then you got St. Quentin in France as well. All looks a bit of a coincidence, where that's Amiens in France, and that's Cork in Dublin. These things are springing up everywhere. And they're an ancient symbol, but they're starting to modernise them now because now they're putting them in schools. I was watching something on Netflix 2 weeks ago. It was in a movie called Damsel, a woman that was captured by a dragon. Look what she's drawn. So this stuff's creeping into movies now, and as we know, they always put it in movies for us to see. Revelation of the Method. Are you familiar with that? Yeah. So they've got to tell us what they're doing, and if we're asleep, they've told us. So as far as they're concerned, they've done their warning bit and we've ignored it because we've been asleep at the wheel. Then if you look at the symbol for ether, which is at the bottom, but then you've got the top symbol, and that is the, under electron microscope, that's the symbol for graphene. Now we all know what's been going into certain medical interventions of late, and on the right hand side is a beehive, but the one on the left, no, that's graphene. It's a self-constructing graphene. Symbols are there, you've just got to be able to see them. Now we all know energy obviously turns into something else. You drop something, you drop a stone into water and you can see the energy doing something else. It's turned into something else, it's continued somewhere else. I was in Blue Water last weekend, and it was the 25th anniversary of its construction. And I thought it was quite interesting, and the exit I taught, I saw this sign. And then when I looked further at it, on the opposite wall was that. It was everybody's names that were involved in the hierarchical element of constructing Blue Water. And fingerprints are really important because there's somebody here today called Yvette who kind of got me down this rabbit hole. Yvette, well done. Another nightmare. Dermatoglyphics. Now that's the study of fingerprints under fingerprint rules. If we move over to, this was the FBI fingerprint archive of 1944 in the United States. So that's the fingerprint record data center they had. And that was just for the criminals that were on record. And there's a reason why I'm taking you down this road. 1778, Johann Mayer identified that no two people have identical fingerprints. Identical twins have very different fingerprints. Now, fingerprints themselves are going to be quite interesting, and you're all going to get your phones out now and start looking at your fingertips. If you go down to the bottom left, you've got plain whirl, and to the right, you've got a central pocket loop. The one on the central pocket loop is called a peacock eye. Now, serial killers have all been identified in the bottom right, which is accidental. Their fingerprints haven't got a set pattern around them. So, in effect, we can identify psychopaths at birth. Healers have the plain whirl and the central pocket loop. And I think everybody's fingerprints is an indication of what you are and your energy is as a character. Journal of Coastal Life Medicine, they're unlocking personalities, November 2020. They've figured out on your fingerprints now that if they take your fingerprints from a crime scene, not only are they taking the patterns, but they also now, as of 2022, can take all the sources of sweat. The upper ridges in your fingerprints are your print, but the lower, you've got crests and dips. The dips hold your DNA. Well, now they can take a fingerprint off a wine glass and they can work out basically what your bloodstream's all about. So I'll just gallop on. Team scientists at Hallam University, 2023, they successfully developed a pioneering non-invasive method of detecting breast cancer from fingerprints with a 97.8% accuracy. Women don't need all the things that they have done. They can do it from your fingerprints now. Interestingly, another little fact is the longer your ring finger is relative to your index finger, so this one and this one, can dictate whether or not you've got masculine qualities. Also, if your longer finger compared to your other short finger means you had more testosterone as a fetus. and you're likely to be hyperactive as a child. So they've identified this, whether you're going to be a hyperactive child or not, from the fingerprints. A longer index finger basically means that you've had more estrogen. Psychopaths, serial killers. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Now, criminal profilers are starting to realise that there's 4 signs of the zodiac that they identify straight away when there's a serial killer on the loose. So you've got these people killed quite a few people. So you've got Sagittarius, Gemini, but then you've got Pisces and Virgo. Okay, so now we're into scary territory. I think the biggest serial killer on record was Harold Shipman. They know that he probably killed about 200, but there are signs that he may have killed up to 800. And he, like me, was a Capricorn. So no one's safe, but there is a pattern. Sweaty secrets, the science of poroscopy, which is what I've said, sweat pores. Now, the opening in the ridges of the fingerprints are actually sweat pores, as I said, but the ducts actually give something away, because now that they're taking fingerprints, body sweat, body fluid that holds revealing information about our health or our vices. Sweat glands now, from a fingerprint, can work out the watery parts of the blood and the chemicals flowing around your system. Sweating fingerprints now, they can work out from your blood, your sex, what medication you're on, the drugs you're taking, alcohol, and even condom lubricants. They can work this out from your fingerprints. So a crime scene now is a very different game plan if they take fingerprints. Cocaine is another interesting one, as is alcohol, because they're both mind-altering. So from the fingerprints, depending on the levels of what they're finding, your state of mind comes into play. So they know what your state of mind is all about. If your character determines your fingerprints as a child, then you can be identified. And this is where it starts to get really scary. Because if identifying people or their potential characters from their fingerprints, from an adult, they know a lot more about you than you know about yourself. Because they've not only got an idea of what your abilities are, and I believe they're abilities, because I have no worlds on my fingertips. All mine are, I've got no circles, but I know some healers that do have them. So as a subject, it's worth looking into. Fingerprints are terribly important now. And there's a reason for that, because later in the day I'm gonna show something that's quite frightening. There's new smartphones now being developed also that you can wear a patch on your arm, and depending upon what's coming out of your blood, your iPhone will tell you whether or not you can drive your car or not, because you've got too much alcohol in your system. Your phone will switch your car off. So this technology is on the way. That's kind of that one as I spun through it really quickly. I'll do another little break now, and then I'll do where I'm going to take this on further. So yeah, we'll have another, maybe, John, 10 minutes? Okay, let's, I don't know what the time is now. Okay, so 15:15, we'll all come back, and we'll get back on track in terms of timing. See you soon.